this is Annie from Stamp Anything with another Mega Make and Take, and today it's all about the Slimline card. So today we're going to make this cutie. So you are going to have your kit, and we're going to go through the contents of the bag real quick, so to make sure you have everything. First, you're going to have your print out little coupon, and it's got a little code here for you to use. And then you're going to have a snowbank and a pond. You're going to get some forestry stamps and an Audrina skating by stamp. You will have some clear fishing line type string and a straw. So you will need to cut your own base for your Slimline card. And for that, you will need a 7 3/4 by 7-inch piece of cardstock. So let's get started. So we have our piece of cardstock, and like I said, it's going to be 7 inches by 7 3/4. So when it folds down, it'll be 7 3/4 by 3.5. And that will be your base. And then you're going to want a mat on top of it. So that will be cut down to 7 3/4 by 3.5. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started to color on our little skating girl. So we are starting with our 𝐒𝐿4. And I am just going to start layering in the dark areas where the shadow will be. I'm not doing her legs because I decided I want her to be wearing tights because it is the winter and most people aren't skating around bare-legged unless you really like the cold, which I do not, coming from Florida. We don't even know what cold is compared to people up north. You guys laugh at us when we're freezing in 70-degree weather. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm babbling here. So those colors, I will go through them again, sorry, when we get onto her face. But it's our basic skin color, and we always do 2 layers. So here we go. Here is our 𝐒𝐿4, second layer there. And then we have our 𝐒11. Our 𝐒21, our 𝐒00. And now the same colors, we're going to be doing her face. So we're starting with that 𝐒𝐿4 again, and we are just going to go underneath the hairline and around the side of her face a little bit for that shadowy area of where our darkest color is hitting. And since her hair is covering good parts of her face, you just want to get underneath those hairlines. So that was our 𝐒04. Now we're with our 𝐒11, and we are just going on top of that 𝐒04 and extending it out a little bit further. And we're also going to start doing the outer area of her eye so we can keep that white area around it when we color. Now we're going in with our 𝐒21. Again, going over what you previously colored and just extending it further out. Then our 𝐒00, starting to blend, go out further. And now I'm taking my R20 to get some cheek color in for her. And I am just going from the sides of her face and curving it around her cheek area. R20 is a really subtle pink tone that blends really well with the skin. And then I'm going to take my 𝐒00 and blend out the edges of that R20 and then fill in the rest of her face. And that is our layer 1, and now we're going to repeat the same exact process again with layer 2. So back with our 𝐒𝐿4. And your layer 2 will always go a little bit faster because you already know where you laid down your colors. And this is where you can adjust some if you want the shadows to come out further or not. And just help with your blending. And now we're with our 𝐒11. Again, around her eyes. Our 𝐒21. And I always do the 2 layers because it just really helps to solidify a smoother blend. Now we're with our 𝐒00. And then our 20 to do those cheeks again. And you can see it gets a little bit more vibrant with that second layer as well. And now we're just blending out that R20 so it's not a harsh line. And there is our sweet little girl. I'm just using my 𝐒𝐿4 for her tongue just to get that, because I usually forget to do it. So there is her tongue colored in as well. And there is our skin. And now we're going to move on to her hair. And I'm just going to start pulling in little flicks with my darkest color in those corners and where one layer of hair overlaps another layer of hair so that it will look, you know, like layers actually. So you want to actually look at the image as best as you can so you can see the separation of those hairlines so you know where you want to add those dark areas. So that was using our 𝐒49, and now we're going to go in with our second color, which is 𝐒39, and we're just going to extend from those tips going towards the center of each strand of hair. And you want to use a light, you know, like a light stroke with it and flick it towards the center. And now we want to add some like our auburn color, reddish colors to it. So we're going to use our 𝐒19. And you're going to be very, very stingy with these colors because you don't want it to cover up everything you just laid down. You just want to add a little wisp of like a reddish highlight in there for her. And then we are going to go with our final color, which is 𝐒13, which is our lightest color. And we're going to fill in all those gaps. And then it's going to also blend out the harshness of all of those other colors. And then I'm just going in with, you know, where I think a couple more streaks are needed. And you'll be able to do that after you've colored your areas. You'll be able to see where you want it to be a little bit more streaky than other areas. So again, we're repeating the process, and now we're back with our 𝐒49, flicking from the tips and the root areas. And you just want to follow the direction of how the hair is already going. So on this, you know, image, because she's ice skating, her hair is kind of flowing in different directions as opposed to as if she was just standing still and she just had straight hair. So you just want to follow the curves of the lines in the stamp that are already there so you know where the hair flow is going to go. So we're just going to keep on following that and putting in that dark tip area with our 𝐒49. And this is a very short stroke and short little flicks because this is the darkest area, but you want it to be able to differentiate the layers of the hair, especially where one section of hair is on top of another. Now around her face, I always draw the line first with it, and then I start flicking out. That way I just don't get into the skin of the colored face we just made. And now that we have that down, we're going to go with our second color, which is our E39. And you're just going to follow what you've already laid down, go over those ones and extend it further so that the colors will start to look as if they're going to meet in the middle of the roots to the tip. And you're just going to be flicking towards your centers. And you're just going to continue this on all of the pieces that you already laid down. Now we're going to add in that little bit of a reddish color with our E19. And these are a little bit more sparingly and longer strokes connecting the area of the root to the tip. And this is just to add that little punch of color of her having auburn hair. And now our E13 to kind of fill in the gaps, coloring on top of everything to blend all of those previous colors together. And you're just going to continue blending out the color. Now this is my colorless blender because I did go out of the lines when I was doing the flicks. So if you just use your colorless blender, I have to grab another one because that was a dry one. So I'm grabbing my other colorless blender, and you just kind of push on the color that went out of the line, and it will push the ink back for you. Sometimes you just have to hold it there a little bit so it will take that away for you. And that's just to do an easy cleanup. So now we're going to go ahead and using the same colors. I just want, oops, sorry. Apparently I'm doing a voiceover so you can tell now. I'm just adding in a couple more streaks in that hair with that E19 for the red to pop through. And now you can see it's a little bit better. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start on the other side of her hair using the same colors, of course. And we're starting with that E49. Going in those dark areas of where one section of hair is on top of another. And then pulling down from the roots on this underside. And now we're going to finish this back section of hair. And now on to our next color, E39. So the technique is always the same. just on different sections of the hair. And now our E19. And then blending it all with our E13. And then this is when you can just go at the end and add any little extra accents with your marker. I just wanted to darken up a little bit of that root, get the blend a little bit. And then I'm just adding in a couple more streaks of that E19. So her hair looks like it has plenty of texture. Okay, so now we're going to start on her clothing. And I wanted to do her in some blues and purples and then with a pop of color with red. So I'm starting with my red and I am using R37. Normally I would be using R39, but I could not find my R39. I think my cat may have ran off with it. So I'm using R37 to lay down my darkest areas. And then I'm going in with my R29. And then R24. And just finishing out that blend. And then onto our second layer. So R37 again. Just hitting those shadow areas. And now our R29. And then our R24. And there are her little red tights. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and work on her little mini skirt in blues. So we're going to use B06, B04, and this is a small area, so you're not going to be able to go too crazy with shadowing. And then your B01. When coloring, if you have your main focus where you do a lot of the detail, which in our case here is the hair, if you don't go too crazy with shading in other areas, it's going to be okay because that's not going to bring your eye as a focal point to her skirt, as where you really see in her hair is what her focal point is. So that was her skirt in the blues. And now we're going to do some purples for her little jacket type area. And so we're going to be using our blue violet. So we're using BV17. And we are putting in our dark areas, which are, you know, under the sleeves, down the side of her jacket, under her neckline, and that little patch of hair. Then our BV13. And we're just extending out to blend that B17. And then we have BV11. for the remainder part of the jacket. And again, we didn't go crazy with tons of detail and tons of shading techniques on the clothes. Just, you know, a hint so you do know that there is a shadow there. Now we're just going to darken up those areas, make the colors pop a little bit more with that second coat because it always makes it a little bit more vibrant. So that was our B17, back to our B13. And then we're going to finish it up with our B11. And it's just a very blue-violet muted color of your purples because I wanted it to go nice with the blue and then the pop of red. And then I'm just coloring in her pocket with the B17 on the edge of the pocket and then B13 for the rest. Just so that the pocket looked like it had a little bit of depth on her jacket. And now we want to do her scarf. So we're going to go back to our reds. So again, we're going to start with our R37, which I would really use R39. So if you have R39, you might want to use that just because it will be a darker red, so your shadows will look darker. And we're just going where around her chin, around where the scarf parts overlap with one on top of the other. Now our R29, bringing it down. You just really want to make sure where the pieces are overlapping is where you're going to have your darkest shadows because they would not be catching any of the light. Now we have our R24, again, just going over those areas. And finishing it up. And now we're going to do the steps over again, especially darkening up really well where those shadow parts are. And then blending it out. And a part of my red bled onto my jacket. Reds are probably one of the trickier colors because cleaning up a red is pretty hard to do, just like cleaning up your black would be hard. So I had to fudge a little area on my jacket. If you did not make this mistake, then you would obviously not have to do that step with me. But I just wanted to cover it up. Just to add a little bit of color to her skates, I'm just using my B01 just to add a little bit of color there. And then I'm taking my colorless blender to kind of blur it out a bit. So you can't really see it on a camera. It didn't film well, but there's just a little blue tone on her skate. And now we're just going to use our blues just to tie in the colors and go ahead and do the tassels on her scarf. And you can use any of the colors that you want. I did a mix of blues and purples just so it all is a little bit cohesive. And then we are finished with our little Audrina skating girl. So now we're going to go to our card. So I have my card mat piece out, which was that 7 3/4 by 3.5. And I'm putting the snowbank and the little ice pond. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the blue strip that came in your kit of the pond to the bottom area of the white snowbank. So you're just going to grab your glue and you're just going to go ahead and adhere them flush on the bottom part of your snowbank. And that's what's great with your wet glue. It gives you a little bit of time to play around and move pieces to get where you want. And now because I'm gonna do my trees, I kind of want to eyeball where that snowbank is landing on there because I want the trees to be tucked behind it. So I'm just trying to get an eyeball view of where I'm going to be placing those trees. And you can do your trees in any combination of which tree goes where and which ink colors you want to use. We are using the Stamp Anything Hybrid inks. I have a series of blues that I was going to use. So we have Caribbean Sea, Azure, and Sky. We also have another blue in our kit as well. But I just thought these 3 blues, a really, really dark one, a medium tone, and then a lighter blue would just really pop really nicely on the papers. So I'm just going to ink up one of my trees. And again, you can just randomly pick whichever trees you want of the stamp set and then use whatever ink colors you want. You can do this in, different shades of greens for your tree, a dark, dark green, a medium green, and then a lighter green to look like a forest behind. I just wanted to do kind of a non-traditional color card. And since it was winter, when I think of winter, I think of blues and purples. Again, I am in South Florida, so we don't really have winter. So my idea of winter being blues and purples with a pop of red is probably not really an idea of winter, but I just like these colors together. So again, I'm just randomly choosing my stamps. This was the big solid tree, and I just want to stagger my trees as well. I don't want them in a straight line. I want them, to be at varying heights, and the reason for the different color inks is for the depth perception, so it looks like some are farther away than others as well. So I'm just inking up another tree, and this tree is in my next color. And you can see I staggering it. I'm even overlapping some of them, which is fine. You will see that. I personally, if I was doing this, I would have been using my Misty instead of probably a stamp block because these are solid stamps. I could not find my Misty when I was making this video, so that's why I'm using a stamp block. But when I do solid stamps like this, I like to use my Misty only because, see how you could see a little bit of that white showing through? I would have done a second impression on that to get it more solid. But when you end up seeing my card, there's a couple of them that the white is actually showing through. And then I kind of liked it because it kind of represented, maybe it could have been like snow coming down on them. So that's just personal choice for, what you may like, if you like them really, really solid or not. And again, staggering them at different heights and different colors, overlapping them so you get different variations. And we're just going to continue this all the way across the card. So just stamp and repeat, just changing up your colors and changing up which tree you're using. So there are different variations in that. And again, you can do this in any monochromatic color tones of inks that you want. If you have 3 different colors of greens or browns, whatever you wish to do. I just liked the blue. So then I just wanted to make sure that they were being covered enough by my snowbank that I did go down far enough. And then I was like, you know, let me just stamp them off the page. I don't want it to be like the forest just ended. I want the forest to be continual past my card. So I'm going to go back and I'm just going to make sure that I stamp these trees all the way to the edge of my card and even hanging off. So it's just more continuity of that. It's a full card of stamping there with that tree. So now we're going to go and do one more onto the other side, and then our slimline card of stamping trees on the whole entire landscape area will be completed. So there we go, stamping it off the side of the card like so. And now our tree line is complete. So next what we're going to need to do is we're going to use our Audrina girl. Now this is optional. If you want to make her able to slide on her card, you're going to use your string and that straw. This is just a quick, easy hack for those of you that may not have slider dies. All you need is some clear fishing line and a straw, and you can make your own slider. So we need to see where our Audrina is going to land on the snowbank, so we know where we're going to put the straw. And for me, it ended up being right around her waistline. So we are just going to take our straw and cut a little bit of it so it will fit on the back of her waistline, so it is hidden. Now again, if you don't want to make her into a slider, you can just go ahead and pop dot your snowbank and then pop dot your Audrina onto your snowbank. But for this demo, we're going to just quickly show you how you can make a cute little slider if you have no slider dies. So I'm just cutting some tape so I'll be able to adhere my straw to the back of my girl. You can do this with hot glue. Just be careful that it's a low temp so it doesn't burn the plastic of your straw. I'm actually very messy when it comes to hot glue, and I would have gotten it everywhere, so I just figured I will just use some tape to hold my straw in place. So I am just going to make sure I really, really, really adhere it very well and cut off any pieces hanging over on our little stamped image. So just got to cut that overhang there. And then again, I just want to make sure that the tape is really, really secured on that straw so it doesn't pop off when we are making her slide. And now we're going to take our piece just to make sure, you know, she's going to be able to slide okay. So we're going to take this little fishing line and we're going to go ahead and thread it through the straw. And I like to wrap it around and go through a second time just to secure it well. But you can just do it the one time, that's fine. Make sure it doesn't go around her leg like mine just did. Okay, so now that we have the straw in there, you can see the string, I'm sorry, you can see that you can pull it and she freely moves on the string. So now what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to secure her and the snowbank to our card. So what we're going to want to do is first you're going to make sure it lines up okay. And I am going to put some foam tape on my snowbank. So I'm just going to quickly put some foam tape on the back side. Now let's go ahead and remove the release tape. And we're going to go ahead and line the snowbank to the bottom of that matte card base of our Slimline. And mine was a little, I measured wrong when I was doing my card base, so I'm just going to go ahead and trim that, which you can do as well if you measured wrong like me. So we're just going to make sure this is going to wrap around the way we want. Just so I can get an idea of how she's going to slide. Okay, so let's see. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to trim that extra piece off real quick. So now my card is all the right length. Now we're going to line her up because we need to see where the string is going to hit, because we're going to cut a notch in our card base to hold that string, because it is a slippery string. It's you know, fishing line, so it would move even if you tied it. So we're just going to cut in a small little notch on the side of our card mat base. That way we can put the fishing line in there, kind of as a holding placement. And then we're going to slide her down, and you're going to place her just for a holding spot. Pull that fishing line taut across the front of your card so that you can see now where it's going to line up and be pretty even with the notch that you put on the other side. And you're going to make another notch on this end of your card and then put your fishing line in there as well. Turn your card over and you are going to square knot your fishing line. And again, it's a little slippery, this fishing line, so go ahead and secure it however you need. I just like doing square knots because then I know it's not going to go anywhere. If you taped this down, I think over time it would loosen with the fishing line, so I do not suggest that. If it was twine or something, you go ahead and tape it down, but with fishing line, you're really going to want to make sure you knot it so it stays in securely. So there is my square knot, and I'm just going to cut my edges, flip my card over, and there is our girl. And because the fishing line is clear, you can see that she will slide if you want her to on your card. And then you can always tuck the fishing line behind the snowbank once you put her where you want her to. Or you could, like I said, if you don't want to put her on the fishing line, you could just pop dot her on top of the snowbank so she's just a normal stationary card. But you can go ahead and put her in position of where you would want. And now we are going to take our card mat that we just created, and we're going to adhere that to our card base. So we're just going to grab our adhesive, just make sure when you're putting down your glue or your tape that you do not cover up your fishing line too much. So I'm just gluing around that. And now I am going to adhere my card mat to my card base. And then because I was off with that one measurement on my card mat, my card was wrong as well. So I just trimmed that up really quick. And now I'm just making sure I have it glued well. And there's our card on our mat. And now you still have room to stamp a sentiment or add a tag or whatever you'd like. So I am just going to grab a sentiment really quick. I'm just going to stamp it straight onto the snow. So just putting that on my block, inking it up. And now we're going to go ahead and just position it and press down to get a good impression. And there is our little sentiment. And here is our finished card, our cute little Audrina Slimline. And here is your coupon code. And I hope you had fun. I appreciate you stopping by and spending this 40-something minutes with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check us out at stampanything.com. Our Facebook group for fans is Stamp Anything Stampers. We do have live color alongs. On Tuesdays, we do techniques. We also offer online coloring classes with exclusive stamps and dies you can't get anywhere else. And we also have a stamp club. So stop on by at Stamp Anything Stampers, join our group, meet our fans, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.